Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
What happened to your outside people's party? You got to do some recruiting now. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the break in the action. And we're taking up the reading of the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, where we left off yesterday. And we're starting with Madhya Leela, chapter 20. The Lord instructs Sanatana Goswami. We're at text number 58. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Agree?
I don't think we did 57, did we?
You don't think we did 57?
I don't remember reading the report.
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
yeah.
we-
So we're getting first thing.
Huh?
57.
Yeah,
You read the
We're on
same.
57?
Yeah.
Okay. Bhavad Vida, we read the Sanskrit, that's why. Bhavad Vida Bhagavatas tīrtha-yātrā swayam vibho tīrtha-kurvanti tīrthani svantakstena gadabrata. Saints of your caliber are themselves places of pilgrimage. Because of their purity, they are constant companions of the Lord, and therefore they can purify even the places of pilgrimage. This verse was spoken by Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira to Vidura in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:13-10. Vidura was returning home after visiting sacred places of pilgrimage, and Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira was receiving his saintly uncle. In essence, Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira was saying, "My dear Lord Vidura, you yourself are a holy place because you are an advanced devotee. People like you always carry Lord Viṣṇu in their hearts. You can revitalize all holy places after they have been polluted by pilgrimages of sinners. A sinful person goes to a holy place of pilgrimage to be purified. In a holy place there are many saintly people and temples of Lord Viṣṇu. However, the holy place becomes infected with the sins of many visitors. When an advanced devotee goes to a holy place, he counteracts all the sins of the pilgrims. Therefore, Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira addressed Vidura in since an advanced devotee carries Lord Viṣṇu within his heart, he is a moving temple and a moving Viṣṇu. An advanced devotee does not need to go to holy places, for wherever he stays is a holy place. In this connection, Narottama Ṭhākura states, tīrtha-yātrā, pariśrama, kevala, manera, bhrama. Visiting holy places is simply another type of bewilderment. Since an advanced devotee does not need to go to a holy place, why does he go? The answer is that he goes simply to purify the place. Na me bhaktash chaturvedi mad bhaktashva pachapriya tasmai deyam dato grahyam sacha pujo yata yayam. Lord Krishna said, even though a person is a very learned scholar of the Sanskrit Vedic literatures, he is not accepted as my devotee unless he is pure in devotional service. However, even though a person is born in a family of dog-eaters, he is very dear to me if he is a pure devotee who has no motive to enjoy fruit of activity or mental speculation. Indeed, all respect should be given to him, and whatever he offers should be accepted. Such devotees are as worshipable as I am. Purport: this verse is included in the Hari Bhakti Vilas compiled by Sanatana Goswami. Viprad vishad guna yatha ravinda nabha padaravinda vimukat swapacham varishtam manyeta arpita mano vachanehi tarta pranam punati sakulam natu burimanaha. One may be born in a Brahmana family and have all 12 Brahminical qualities. But if he is not devoted to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who has a navel shaped like a lotus, he is not as good as a Chandala who has dedicated his mind, words, activities, wealth, and life to the service of the Lord. Simply to take birth in a Brahmana family or to have Brahminical qualities is not sufficient. One must become a pure devotee of the Lord. If the Shwapacha or Chandala is a devotee, he delivers not only himself but his whole family. Whereas a Brahmana who is not a devotee but simply has Brahminical qualifications cannot even purify himself, what to speak of his family. This verse was spoken by Prahlad Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.10. A Brahmana is supposed to be qualified with 12 qualities as stated in the Mahabharata. A Brahmana must be perfectly religious, he must be truthful, and he must be able to control his senses. He must execute severe austerities, and he must be detached, humble, and tolerant. He must not envy anyone, and he must be expert in performing sacrifices and giving whatever he has in charity. He must be fixed in devotional service and expert in the knowledge of the Vedas. These are the 12 qualifications for a Brahmana. The Bhagavad Gita 8.42 describes the Brahminical qualities in this way: Shamo damastapa shaucham shantir arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam asti kyam brahma karma subhavajam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. In the Mukta Pala Tika, where? It is said, Shamo Damastapa Shaucham Shantir Arjava Viraktaya Jnana Vijnana Santosha Satyastike Dvishad Guna. Mental equilibrium, sense control, austerity, cleanliness, tolerance, simplicity, detachment, theoretical and practical knowledge, satisfaction, truthfulness, and firm faith in the Vedas are the 12 qualities of a Brahmana. Good qualities. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu continued, by seeing you, by touching you, and by glorifying your transcendental qualities, one can perfect the purpose of all sense activity. This is the verdict of the revealed scriptures. This is confirmed in the following verse from the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya. Akshano palam tadrisha darshanam hi tano palam tadrisha gata sangha jihva palam tadrisha kirtanam hi sadurlabha bhagavata hi loke. My dear Vaishnava, seeing a person like you is the perfection of one's eyesight. Touching your lotus feet is the perfection of the sense of touch. And glorifying your good qualities is the tongue's real activity. For in the material world it is very difficult to find a pure devotee of the Lord. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu continued, my dear Sanatana, please hear from me. Krishna is very merciful, and he is the deliverer of all fallen souls. My dear Sanatana, Krishna has saved you from Mahārāja, life's deepest hell. He is an ocean of mercy, and his activities are very grave. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1861, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridarsharjuna tishtati. Staying within everyone's heart, Lord Krishna works very gravely. No one can understand how he is working, but as soon as the Lord understands the sincere activity of a person in devotional service, he helps him in such a way that the devotee cannot understand how things are happening. If the devotee is determined to serve the Lord is always prepared to help him. Tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Sanatana Goswami how merciful the Lord is. Sanatana Goswami was a minister in the service of Nawab Hussain Shah. He was always mixing with materially inclined people, particularly with Muslims, meat-eaters. Although he was in intimate touch with them, by Krishna's mercy he came to find such association distasteful. Therefore he left them. As stated by Srinivasacharya, Tyaktva Turnamashesha Mandalapati Srinim Sada Tuchavat. Krishna enlightened Sanatana Goswami in such a way that he was able to give up his exalted post as minister. Thinking his material position insignificant, Sanatana was prepared to become a mendicant. Appreciating the activities of Sanatana Goswami, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu praised his action and thanked Krishna for his mercy upon him. Sanatana replied, I do not know who Krishna is. As far as I'm concerned, I've been released from prison only by your mercy. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then asked Sanatana Goswami, how were you released from prison? Sanatana then described the story from beginning to end. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, I met your two brothers, Rupa and Anupam, at Prayag. They have now gone to Vrindavan. By the order of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Sanatana Goswami met both Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhar. Tapana Mishra then extended an invitation to Sanatana, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Sanatana to go get a shave. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Chandrasekhar and asked him to take Sanatana Goswami with him. He also asked him to take away Sanatana's present dress. Chandrasekhar then made Sanatana Goswami look like a gentleman. He took him to bathe in the Ganges, and afterwards he brought him a new set of clothes. The words Bhadra Karana are significant here. Karanya. They're significant in this verse. Due to his long hair, mustache, and beard, Sanatana Goswami looked like a Darvesh or hippie. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not like Sanatana Goswami's hippie features, he immediately asked Chandrasekhar to get him shaved clean. If anyone with long hair or a beard wants to join this Krishna consciousness movement and live with us, he must similarly shave himself clean. The followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu consider long hair objectionable. Sanatana Goswami was saved from a hellish condition, Mahārāja, by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahārāja is a hell wherein animal killers are placed. In this regard, refer to Srimad Bhagavatam 5.26.10 through 12. Chandrasekhar offered a new set of garments to Sanatana Goswami, but Sanatana did not accept them. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard news of this, he became unlimitedly happy. After bathing at noon, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the house of Tapana Mishra for lunch. He took Sanatana Goswami with him. After washing his feet, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down for lunch. He asked Tapana Mishra to supply Sanatana Goswami lunch also. Tapana Mishra then said, Sanatana has some duty to perform. Therefore, he cannot accept lunch now. At the conclusion of the meal, I shall supply Sanatana with some remnants. After eating, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took rest for a while. Tapana Mishra then gave Sanatana Goswami the remnants of food left by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Tapana Mishra offered Sanatana Goswami a new cloth, he did not accept it. Instead, he spoke as follows. If you want to give me some cloth according to your desire, please give me an old cloth you have used. When Tapana Mishra gave Sanatana Goswami a used dhoti, Sanatana immediately tore it into pieces to make two sets of outer cloth and underwear. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the Maharashtrian Brahmin to Sanatana, the Brahmin immediately invited Sanatana Goswami for full meals. The Brahmana said, My dear Sanatana, as long as you remain at Kashi, please accept lunch at my place. Sanatana replied, I shall practice the process of Madhukari. Why should I accept full meals in the house of a Brahmana? The word Madhukari comes from the word Madhukara, which refers to bees collecting honey from a flower. Madhukari is a saintly person or a mendicant who does not accept a full meal at one house, but begs from door to door, taking a little food from each householder's place. In this way, he does not overeat or give householders unnecessary trouble. A person in the renounced order may beg but not cook. His begging should not be a burden to the household for the householders. The Madhukari process is strictly to be followed by a Babaji, that is, one who has attained the Paramahamsa stage. This practice is still current in Vrindavan, and there are many places where alms are offered. Unfortunately, there are many beggars who have come to Vrindavan to accept alms but not follow the principles of Sanatana Goswami. People try to imitate him and lead an idle life by practicing Madhukari. It is almost impossible to strictly follow Sanatana Goswami or Rupa Goswami. It is better to accept food offered to Krishna in the temple than to try to imitate Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami. Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Bhagavad Gita 6:17. The ideal sannyasi strictly follows the ways practiced by the Goswamis. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu felt unlimited happiness to observe Sanatana Goswami's strict following of the principles of sannyas. However, he repeatedly glanced at the woolen blanket Sanatana Goswami was wearing. Because Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was repeatedly glancing at this valuable woolen blanket, Sanatana Goswami could understand that the Lord did not approve of it. He then began to consider a way to give it up. Thinking of this way, Sanatana went to the bank of the Ganges to bathe. While there, he saw that a mendicant from Bengal had washed his quilt and spread it out to dry. Sanatana Goswami then told the Bengali mendicant, "My dear brother, please do me a favor. Trade me your quilt for this woolen blanket." The mendicant replied, "Sir, you are a very respectable gentleman. Why are you joking with me? Why would you trade your valuable blanket for my torn quilt?" Sanatana said, "I'm not joking. I'm speaking the truth. Kindly take this blanket in exchange for your torn quilt." Saying this, Sanatana Goswami exchanged the blanket for the quilt. He then returned to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu with the quilt on his shoulder. When Sanatana Goswami returned, the Lord asked, "Where is your woolen blanket?" Sanatana Goswami then narrated the whole story to the Lord. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "I have already deliberately considered this matter. Since Lord Krishna is very merciful, he has nullified your attachment for material things. Why should Krishna allow you to maintain a last bit of material attachment? After vanquishing a disease, a good physician does not allow any of the disease to remain. It is contradictory to practice Madhukari and at the same time wear a valuable blanket. One loses his spiritual strength by doing this, and one will also become an object of jokes." Sanatana Goswami replied, "The Supreme Personality of Godhead has saved me from sinful life of material existence. By his desire, my last piece of material attraction is now gone." Being pleased with Sanatana Goswami, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his causeless mercy upon him. By the Lord's mercy, Sanatana Goswami received the spiritual strength to inquire from him. Formerly, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had asked Ramananda Roy spiritual questions, and by the Lord's causeless mercy, Ramananda Roy could properly reply. Now by the Lord's mercy, Sanatana Goswami questioned the Lord, and Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu personally supplied the truth. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally told Sanatana Goswami about Lord Krishna's real identity. He also told him about the Lord's conjugal love, his personal opulence, and the mellows of devotional service. All these truths were explained to Sanatana Goswami by the Lord himself out of his causeless mercy. Putting a straw in his mouth and bowing down, Sanatana Goswami clasped the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and humbly spoke as follows. Sanatana Goswami said, "I was born in a low family, and my associates are all low-class men. I myself am fallen and am the lowest of men. Indeed, I have passed my whole life fallen in the well of sinful materialism." Actually, Sri Sanatana Goswami belonged to a Brahmana family because he belonged to the Saraswata division of the Brahmanas and was well-cultured and well-educated. Somehow or other he accepted a ministership in the Muslim government. Therefore he had to associate with meat-eaters, drunkards, and gross materialists. Sanatana Goswami considered himself fallen, for in the association of such men he also fell victim to material enjoyment. Having passed his life in that way, he considered that he had wasted his valuable time. This statement about how one can become fallen in this material world is made by the greatest authority in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Actually, the whole system is presently fallen. The whole world rather. Actually, the whole world is presently fallen into material existence. Everyone is a meat eater, drunkard, woman hunter, gambler, and whatnot. That's WHATNOT. People are enjoying material life people are enjoying material life by committing the 4 basic sins. Although they are fallen, if they simply submit themselves to the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they will be saved from sinful reactions. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki. I do not know what is beneficial for me or what is detrimental. Nonetheless, in ordinary dealings, people consider me a learned scholar. And I'm also thinking of myself as such. Out of your causeless mercy, you have delivered me from the materialistic path. Now, by the same causeless mercy, please tell me what my duty is. Who am I? Why do the threefold miseries always give me trouble? If I do not know this, how can I be benefited? The threefold material miseries are miseries arising from the body and mind, miseries arising from dealings with other living entities, and miseries arising from natural disturbances. Sometimes we suffer bodily when we are attacked by a fever, and sometimes we suffer mentally when a close relative dies. Other living entities also cause us misery. They are living entities born of the human embryo, of eggs, perspiration, and vegetation. Miserable conditions brought about by natural catastrophes are controlled by the higher demigods. There may be severe cold or thunderbolts, or a person may be haunted by ghosts. These threefold miseries are always before us, and they entrap us in a dangerous situation. Padam padam yad vipadam. There is danger in every step of life. Actually, I do not know how to inquire about the goal of life and the process for obtaining it. Being merciful upon me, please explain all these truths. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, Lord Krishna has bestowed his full mercy upon you so that all these things are known to you. For you, the threefold miseries certainly do not exist. Since you possess Lord Krishna's potency, you certainly know these things. However, it is the nature of a sadhu to inquire. Although he knows these things, the sadhu inquires for the sake of strictness. Those who are eager to awaken their spiritual consciousness and who thus have unflinching, undeviated intelligence certainly attain the desired goal of life very soon. This verse, quoted from the Narottama Purana, is found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 107. You are fit to propagate the cult of devotional service. Therefore, gradually hear all the truths about it from me. I shall tell you about them. It is a living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna, because he is the marginal energy of Krishna and a manifestation simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, like a molecular particle of sunshine or fire. Krishna has 3 varieties of energy. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura explains these verses as follows. Sri Sanatana Goswami asked Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who am I? In answer, the Lord replied, you are a pure living entity. You are neither the gross material body nor the subtle body, composed of mind and intelligence. Actually, you are a spirit soul, eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, Krishna. Therefore, you are his eternal servant. You belong to Krishna's marginal potency. There are 2 worlds, the spiritual world and the material world, and you are situated between the material and spiritual potencies. You have a relationship with both the material and spiritual world. Therefore, you are called the marginal potency. You are related with Krishna as one and simultaneously different. Because you are spirit soul, you are one in quality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because you are a very minute particle of spirit soul, you are different from the Supreme Soul. Therefore, your position is simultaneously one with and different from the Supreme Soul. The examples given are those of the sun itself and the sun particles of sunshine, the small particles of sunshine, and of a blazing fire and the small particles of fire. Another explanation of these can be found in Adi Lila chapter 2, verse 96. Ekadesha stitasyagnir jyotsna vistaraniyata parasya brahmana shaktis tatedam akilam jagat. From the Vishnu Purana. Just as the illumination of a fire, which is situated in one place, is spread all over, the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Parabrahman, are spread all over this universe. Lord Krishna naturally has three energetic transformations, and these are known as the spiritual potency, the living entity potency, and the illusory potency. Vishnu, again from Vishnu Purana, Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetra Gyakya Tata Para Avidharma Sangyanya Tritiya Shaktir Ishyate. Originally, Krishna's energy is spiritual, and the energy known as the living entity is also spiritual. However, there is another energy called illusion, which consists of fruit of activity. That is the Lord's third potency. Again from the Vishnu Purana, all the creative energies which are inconceivable to a common man exist in the Supreme Absolute Truth. These inconceivable energies act in the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. O chief of the ascetics, just as there are two energies possessed by fire, namely heat and light, these inconceivable creative energies are the natural characteristics of the Absolute Truth. O king, the Kshetragya Shakti is the living entity. Although he has the facility to live in either the material or spiritual world, he suffers the threefold miseries of material existence because he is influenced by the avidya, nescience potency, which covers his constitutional position. This and the following verse are quoted from the Vishnu Purana, quoting heavily from the Vishnu Purana. This living entity covered by the influence of nescience exists in different forms in the material condition. O king, he is thus proportionately freed from the influence of material energy to greater or lesser degrees. Besides these inferior energies, pardon me, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature from, as everyone knows, Bhagavad Gita. And now we'll take a few reflections or questions. Yes, Mahendra, Prabhu.
It struck me how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became unlimitedly happy, apara ananda. Just for small things, Sanatana didn't accept new set of dhoti, new clothes, and gave up his wooden blanket. And there's another instance, the same expression is mentioned, ananda para, unlimited happiness, when Raghunath Das Goswami also refused to take the money from his father. So, normally we expect this unlimited happiness to be from something more significant done by devotees, but it seems when they are situated properly, doing their duty in their ashram, it's a very pleasing for Lord Chaitanya.
Please tell us, in your preaching, what makes you unlimitedly happy? What kind of things do you see in others, perhaps people that you're preaching to, that make you unlimitedly happy?
Faith and dedication to Srila Prabhupada and his mission, and simplicity to serve him.
Any telltale signs, like giving away expensive jacket, or anything in particular you can think of? Like you saw somebody show their faith in a certain way and you noticed it, and it was a small thing, but it made you unlimitedly happy?
Oh, like a small... Yeah, I'm more thinking now of a long-term, steady dedication, and some maybe not be known or big name or big position, but just being very steady and developing this firm faith in Prabhupada and having real strong connection, just because of this simple service done in the long term.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Really nice point you made about how Lord Caitanya was unlimitedly happy about small changes that Sanatana made. Very deliberate small changes. Okay, we have the outside people's party, and Karvinda is going to get it started out there.
Guru Maharaj, I have two questions. One is this: when Rupa Goswami says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says it is contradictory to practice Madhukari and at the same time wear a valuable blanket. One loses his spiritual strength by doing this, and one will become an object of jokes. So what does this mean that he loses his spiritual strength by doing this?
Loses his spiritual strength?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Yeah, losing the spiritual strength.
Well, it means that he will not be enthusiastic or determined. When somebody has spiritual strength, they have enthusiasm, patience, and determination. And when you lose spiritual strength, you lose your enthusiasm, your patience, and your determination, and your desire to associate with devotees.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. And another one is, in one of the purport is mentioned, there may be severe cold or thunderbolts, or a person may be haunted by ghost. So is this haunted by ghost, is that like true, it exists? Like people can get haunted by ghost?
Oh yeah. I don't recommend it. Ghosts are living entities who don't get a gross physical body for one reason or another. I won't even mention the causes because it is a ghostly topic. But there are ways in which you can lose your connection to a gross physical body, and then you have the subtle senses that normally occupy physical body. You're missing part of the hardware that connects you to the material world. That's the experience the soul's trying to have, is that visceral connection to the material world. Trying to lord it over, enjoy it, taste it, try it out. But then you lose that part of your equipment, and you just have the subtle body, and you are full of desire or the urge to interact, but you're not able to. So ghosts sometimes try to occupy other people's bodies to get a little taste, a little tactile sense in connection to the material world. Thank you. Gopal.
I was appreciating how Srila Prabhupada mentioned the standard of shaving.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that standard slips, I've noticed. There's one thing, devotees live outside, they have to work outside, or a devotee's doing some kind of vrata, but outside of that, the standard of shaving is very accepted.
At least every fortnight. Sporting fancy schmancy facial hair, as one of my godbrothers calls it, getting your freak on. You know, weird styles come up, and it's foppery. It's following some fad. So there's tonsure, is an age-old process of sacrificing your hair. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta didn't allow people to bring a mustache into their initiation hall. And it's a big deal for some people because their whole culture is based on wearing a mustache. If they have a certain lineage where they all wore mustaches because they were part of a warrior caste or for some other reason, it's a big sacrifice. You'd think it's not a big deal, but actually, when you join the military, you have to give up a few things too, and be disciplined. So no getting your freak on. That's done. No more freaky Fridays. Nanda.
Oftentimes the counter argument about facial hairs, they give Advaita Acharya as an example. Do you have an explanation or a counter argument that can be presented in that case? Because it often comes up.
Well, I remember once there were two sannyasis. They called them the mean swamis because everyone saw them as very intense. And they were intense. And they also had a collecting party because they were trying to collect money for the building the temple in Vrindavan. And on their party, they had a deity of Ganesh. Well, they had their Gaurnitai deities and everything. They had Ganesh. They started worshiping him. And when people saw senior devotees worshiping Ganesh, everybody started getting a Ganesh deity. And then somebody wrote to Prabhupada and said, can we worship Ganesh too? The mean swamis are doing it. And Prabhupada wrote back and he said, yes, if you can also give a minimum of $50,000 a month, then you can also worship Ganesh. But other than that, he didn't allow it. I mean, as far as Advaita Acharya goes, that's, if you can call Lord Caitanya to come to the world, then maybe it's okay. Nitya Tarangani, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. We have 26 devotees watching online today.
Hare Hare!
I have one reflection and one comment from yesterday afternoon session.
Okay.
Question is from Preeti Purna Mataji. Hare Krishna Maharaj, what should be the position of impostors in the society? Should they be allowed, even if they might be supporting financially?
We'll have to get more of an information of what impostorship looks like. But in general, I mean, if somebody has a clandestine mission within our mission, we don't encourage that because we're a tight-knit organization and we follow the mood and methods of Prabhupada. If somebody else is trying to subvert that, it causes disturbance that is not productive, so we generally don't like imposters. But again, I'd like to hear what kind of imposters there are. But maybe if she means that somebody who's at heart not really a devotee but likes to be around devotees and wants to give money, it's hard to say. I'd have to know because what an impostor is in this context.
Next is a reflection from Vamsuli Prabhu.
Oh, Vamsuli, where are you? We're missing you. Go ahead.
He's saying, Hare Krishna, dear Gurudev. In chapter 20, verse 45, Sanatana Goswami said, I shall leave immediately. This reminds me of when Hanuman is requested to stay on Menaka Parvata for some time, but he politely responds and carries on with his mission to find Mother Sita.
Yeah, leave immediately. Nice parallel. Fantastic. Thanks, Vamsuli. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we're back to it. Krishna Buli Se Jeev Anand Anadi Bahurmukh Ataiva Maya Tarideya Samsara Duk. Forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the external feature from time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy, Maya, gives him all kinds of misery in his material existence. When the living entity forgets his constitutional position as an eternal servant of Krishna, he is immediately entrapped by the illusory external energy. The living entity is originally part and parcel of Krishna, and is therefore the superior energy of Krishna. He is endowed with inconceivable minute energy that works inconceivably within the body. However, the living entity, forgetting his position, is situated in material energy. The living entity is called the marginal energy because by nature he is spiritual, but out of forgetfulness he is situated in the material energy. Thus, he has the power to live either in the material energy or in the spiritual energy. And for this reason he is called marginal energy. Being in the marginal position, he is sometimes attracted by the external illusory energy, and this is the beginning of his material life. When he enters the material energy, he is subjected to the threefold time measurement: past, present, and future. Past, present, and future belong only to the material world. They do not exist in the spiritual world. The living entity is eternal, and he existed before the creation of this material world. Unfortunately, he has forgotten his relationship with Krishna. The living entity's forgetfulness is described herein as anadi, which indicates that it has existed since time immemorial. One should understand that due to his desire to enjoy himself in competition with Krishna, the living entity comes into material existence. You know, lately, because when I'm chanting japa, I'm right across from the clock. I've been looking at the clock and wondering what it would be like if time stopped. What do you think it would be like? They just keep chanting? If it stops. Anyway, I've been thinking about it. In the material condition, the living entity is sometimes raised to higher planetary systems and material prosperity, and sometimes drowned in a hellish situation. His state is exactly like that of a criminal whom a king punishes by submerging him in water and then raising him again from the water. Of course, it says in the Brahma Samhita in that verse, Sriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpa Tarabo, that time is conspicuous by its absence. So time, there is no time factor. Why would you even have a clock then, right? You don't need one. I heard that, and yeah, no passing of even one moment. I heard Bhakti Charu Maharaj at a lecture in New Vrindavan talking about the history of time and the clock, and modern society's becoming altered by the introduction of the clock. Of course, there have been sundials and things like that. Remind me to look that up later. Maybe ChatGPT knows. I haven't found it anywhere else from other than what he said. Okay, I'm on the purport to 118, right? In the Brihat-aranyaka Upanishad, it is stated, Asangho Hyayam Purusha. That's from the Brihat-aranyaka Upanishad. The living entity is always free from the contamination of the material world. One who is not materially infected and who does not forget Krishna as his master is called Nitya Mukta. In other words, one who is eternally liberated from material contamination is called Nitya Mukta. From time immemorial, the Nitya Mukta living entity has always been a devotee of Krishna, and his only attempt has been to serve Krishna. Thus, he never forgets his eternal servitorship to Krishna. Any living entity who forgets his eternal relationship with Krishna is under the sway of the material condition. Bereft of Lord Krishna's, of the Lord's transcendental loving service, he is subjected to the reactions of fruit of activity. When he is elevated to the higher planetary systems due to worldly, pious activities, he considers himself well situated. But when he is subjected to punishment, he thinks himself improperly situated. Thus, material nature awards and punishes the living entity. When the living entity is materially opulent, material nature is rewarding him. When he is materially embarrassed, material nature is punishing him. Bhayam dvitiya binibeshata syad, ishad apetasya viparya yosmrti, tanmaya yato buddha abhajetam bhaktyaka yesham gurudevatatma. When the living entity is attracted by the material energy, which is separate from Krishna, he is overpowered by fear. Because he is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the material energy, his conception of life is reversed. In other words, instead of being the eternal servant of Krishna, he becomes Krishna's competitor. This is called viparya yosmriti. To nullify this mistake, one who is actually learned and advanced worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his spiritual master, worshipful deity and source of life. He thus worships the Lord by the process of unalloyed devotional service. I know, different translations. You'll find that throughout. Purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.37. It is an instruction given by Kavi Rishi, one of the 9 saintly personalities called the 9 Yogendras. When Vasudeva, Krishna's father, asked Devarshi Narada in Dwarka about devotional service, it was mentioned that previously King Nimi, who is the king of Videha, was instructed by the 9 Yogendras. When Sri Narada Muni discoursed on Bhagavat Dharma, devotional service, he indicated how a conditioned soul can be liberated by engaging in the loving transcendental service of the Lord. The Lord is the super soul, spiritual master, and worshipable deity of all conditioned souls. Not only is Krishna the supreme worshipful deity for all living entities, but he is also the Guru, or Chaitya Guru, the super soul, who always gives the living entity good counsel. Unfortunately, the living entity neglects the Supreme Person's instructions. He thus identifies with the material energy and is consequently overpowered by a kind of fear resulting from accepting himself as the material body and considering paraphernalia related to the material body to be his property. All types of fruitive results actually come from the spirit soul, but because he has forgotten his real duty, he is embarrassed by many material consequences, such as fear and attachment. The only remedy is to revert to the service of the Lord and thus be saved from material nature's unwanted harassment. If the conditioned soul becomes Krishna conscious by the mercy of saintly persons who voluntarily preach scriptural injunctions and help him to become Krishna conscious, the conditioned soul is liberated from the clutches of Maya, who gives him up. Yay. A conditioned soul is one who has forgotten Krishna as his eternal master. Thinking that he is enjoying the material world, the conditioned soul suffers the threefold miseries of material existence. Saintly persons, sadhus, Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, preach Krishna consciousness on the basis of Vedic literature. It is only by their mercy that the conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness. When awakened, he is no longer eager to enjoy the materialistic way of life. Instead, he devotes himself to the loving transcendental service of the Lord. When one engages in the Lord's devotional service, he becomes detached from material enjoyment. Bhakti parishanu bhavo viraktir anyatra chaisa trika ekakala. This is the test by which one can tell whether he is advancing in devotional service. One must be detached from material enjoyment. Such detachment means that Maya has actually given up the conditioned soul. Such detachment means that Maya has actually given up the conditioned soul. Liberation. Such detachment means that Maya has actually given the conditioned soul liberation from illusory enjoyment. When one is advanced in Krishna consciousness, he does not consider himself as good as Krishna. Whenever he thinks that he is the enjoyer of material advantages, he is imprisoned in the bodily conception. However, when he is freed from the bodily conception, he can engage in devotional service, which is his actual position of freedom from the clutches of Maya. This is all explained in the following verse from the Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Daivahi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. The conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness. Maya mugda jivan nahi swata Krishna gyan jivere kripaya kaila Krishna veda puran. The conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness by his own effort. But out of causeless mercy, Lord Krishna compiled the Vedic literatures and its supplements, the Puranas. This section is just a hit parade of all the best verses that were ever written. A conditioned soul is bewildered by the Lord's illusory energy, Maya. Maya's business is to keep the conditioned soul forgetful of his real relationship with Krishna. Imagine somebody following you around all day just trying to make you forget like who you are. That's their main duty in life. Thus the living entity forgets his real identity as spirit soul, Brahman, and instead of realizing his factual position, thinks himself the product of the material energy. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 175, Yaya samohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manute nartam tatkritam chabripadyate. Due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. This is a description of Maya's action upon the conditioned soul. Thinking himself a product of the material energy, the conditioned soul engages in the service of the material energy in so many ways. He becomes the servant of lust, anger, greed, and envy. In this way, one totally becomes a servant of the illusory energy. Later, the bewildered soul becomes a servant of mental speculation. But in any case, he is simply covered by the illusory energy. Out of his causeless mercy and compassion, Krishna has compiled various Vedic literatures in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is a Shaktivesh avatar of Lord Krishna. He has very kindly presented these literatures to awaken the conditioned soul to his senses. Unfortunately, at the present moment, the conditioned souls are guided by demons who do not care to read the Vedic literatures. Although there are an immense treasure house of knowledge, people are engaged in reading useless literature that will give them no information on how to get out of the clutches of Maya. The purpose of the Vedic literatures is explained in the following verses. Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Janana Krishna Mor Prabhu Thrata Jivera Hoy Jnana. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures, the realized spiritual master, and the super soul. Through these he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is, and he can understand that Lord Krishna is his eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and can come to understand how to attain liberation. It really matches up, doesn't it? For anyone who happened to not be born into this but wandered into it by these very means of having the literature, then the spiritual master, and the super soul. Purport. Being forgetful of his real position, the conditioned soul may take help from Shastra, Guru, and the super soul within his heart. Krishna is situated within everyone's heart as the Supersoul, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 1861. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. As the Shaktivesh avatar Vyasadeva, Krishna teaches the conditioned soul through the Vedic literatures. Krishna externally appears as the spiritual master and trains the conditioned soul to come to Krishna consciousness. When his original Krishna consciousness is revived, the conditioned soul is delivered from the material clutches. Thus, a conditioned soul is always helped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in three ways: by the scriptures, the spiritual master, and the super soul within his heart. The Lord is the deliverer of the conditioned soul and is accepted as the Supreme Lord of all living entities. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman prityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masrucha. Abandon all varieties of religion, and just surrender to me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. This same instruction is found throughout all Vedic literatures. Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru act as the representatives of Krishna, and the Krishna consciousness movement is also taking place all over the universe. Whoever takes advantage of this opportunity becomes liberated. We'll take a little break and come back here at 12 minutes after.